All right, so our guest is on set, and we'll be speaking with the minority leader, Mr. Kelvon Morris, and of course, we have so much to discuss. And of course, happy Republic Day, and good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Brother B. Good morning, Juby. Good morning, all of Tobago, and happy Republic Day to each and every one of you as well.
Right, so I see you have on a red tunic. Yes, a march in Roxburgh tomorrow.
Well, yes. Of course, looking forward to walking the streets and all that comes with the Republic Day celebration in the East.
All right, excellent. All right, Mr. Morris, let's get straight into it. Obviously, there are so many matters that you quick to respond to, rebuttal in some cases, and you make your recommendations, all right? We presently, and let's jump straight into the major matter that we anticipated would be on the front burner, so to speak, given the victory of the TPP. And that matter is the self-governance matter for Tobago. We are not hearing a word by our two representatives. We have not heard you calling on our representative as the minority leader. Why isn't this taking precedent in our parliament? Your overview, and we get into the other matters.
Well, Brother B, as you would know, this matter has been foremost on the agenda of the minority. As a matter of fact, I belabored the opportunity we had to once and for all settle this matter when it came to a vote. And you would recall, all of Tobago would recall, that it was the Chief Secretary at that time who decided to send a memoir to all members of Parliament, basically telling them, do not support those two bills. And my position at that time was that those bills provided us with a far advanced position than where we are currently, and therefore we should have supported it and then take it to the next level thereafter. Suffice it to be so, those bills were rejected on the recommendation of the Chief Secretary, and to date, as you rightfully said, there has been little to no conversation coming out from the Chief Secretary and this current administration. We continue to push in the background. As a matter of fact, though it may not make prime time news, this matter of autonomy continues to be foremost on the mind of the minority and the PNM, because, Brother B, without autonomy, without the legislature of the Tobago House of Assembly having the ability to craft and make our own laws, Tobago will continue to be in a very disadvantageous position in its development, thrust, and progress for the island. We are seeing it on a daily basis. Take, for example, at Marine Park. We have a Marine Park bill that was sent to Parliament, to the Cabinet, for transmission onto the Parliament since 2020. That was during COVID. And that has not seen the light of day. Had we had the autonomy, we as the Assembly, as the legislators in Tobago, could have gone and take care of our own business. Brother B, we have land title issues. We have all sorts of issues. Our fishers right now are afraid to go out because somebody in Trinidad decided to stir up unnecessary bacchanal, and now it affects our fishers. We don't have no way to protect our fishers here in Tobago, and therefore, this is a matter, as I said recently, all of a sudden, the Chief Secretary has gone silent, he has gone soft, and it's as though he has abandoned the people of Tobago at this time.
Okay. Mr. Cox?
I just thinking, just going back to the bill and looking at the powers that the Chief Secretary would have and his administration in dealing with or bringing it to a level where it can return to the front burner in Parliament. I mean, I understand that the consultations would start again. How much can the administration, including yourself, I mean, you said behind the scenes that your team and your party have been advocating, but how much can the administration do at this point in time to ensure that it comes back on the front burner?
Well, the point is, it was the Chief Secretary and the UNC who colluded, and I say colluded in literal and figurative terms, to derail the bills, and therefore it is their responsibility to ensure, because if you reject something, you should now prioritize giving Tobagonians something better. And we dealt with a bill, with a motion very early post this administration's term, where the Chief Secretary came to us as the Assembly Legislature and said, let us give him the authority to take and write to the Prime Minister, the new Prime Minister, so that they can look at the bills and at the soonest point in time bring something back to the people. So far, the Chief Secretary promised also that he would go out on consultations to the people of Tobago, and I want the people of Tobago to record that this issue of autonomy by the Chief Secretary has been used as a conversation of convenience. The Chief Secretary has never taken any real step to deal with autonomy in Tobago. Look at the record. There has been absolutely no consultations with the people of Tobago from this Chief Secretary on the question of autonomy. We have never had an opportunity to really hear what are Tobagonians' views by the Chief Secretary. We were given promises. Remember, just before the bills were voted upon, the Chief Secretary said he will put together a team, and that team would go out and gather the views of Tobagonians. That never happened. Post the vote, he said he would have again revisited that situation with consultations. That never happened. And it appears that it's only when it is a convenient conversation for political mileage, the Chief Secretary picks up this topic and runs with it, and it's quite unfortunate.
All right. So there has been concerns about transparency in the THA under your watch, and of course there are other concerns. Accountability, so transparency, accountability, and there have been. All right, so the budget coming up, and I'm putting it differently. There is eager anticipation that Tobago would get the most or the largest allocation. Are you confident that would be so, given the relationship? And in terms of transparency, how do we, the public, of course, we get all the annual reports or the budgetary, the plans going forward as to how they would utilize these funds for expenditure and so on. Development and so on. Just given that you have called for varying audits and so on, where are we with the last call that you made and leading up to this allocation? Do you anticipate that Tobago will get what Tobago wants, given the relationship? Give us an overview from the standpoint of your call for transparency, accountability, travel allowances, and so on. Bring that into perspective and treat with our intended amount that we need to utilize for development and so on.
So, Brother B, I'll start with the core question, which is whether I'm confident Tobago will get the requisite request that they made, which was about 5.1% of the budget, somewhere about there, $3.8 billion. And what I anticipate is that you will get UNC semantics, just as we saw with the supplementary allocation, where Tobago got its lowest supplementary allocation over this administration's term. But then you saw where they put into the mix a loan that we would have to pay back in some ways, and then came and tell you, well, you got $32 million, when it's really only 32 million. So what would happen in this budget is that what the UNC would do is, you see those allocations where you have government or the 6 schedule matters where the government would have some input in the spending. I expect that they will put together all those figures and tell you, well, here what, we give you 5.1 when the THA would have received their regular 4.3%, but they will put everything into the basket and say, look, we give all them more. And if we are not discerning, many of us will fall for that trick. That is one. So I don't anticipate any significant variance with respect to the THA's direct allocation. 2, when it comes to the transparency and accountability of it all, what we have seen in the Tobago space is a clear mismanagement of the resources. And I'll give you one example, which is the ambulance, Brother B. We have spent for the purchase of 12 ambulances, over $18 million. In addition to, during the period of procurement of trying to get those ambulances operational, we have leased and spent in renting and leasing that service additional $5 million. That is for the period 2023 to present. Over $23 million have been expended in ambulance service. Yet to date, more often than not, there's only one ambulance operational. Brother B, I saw recently St. Vincent would have purchased ambulances, Toyota Hiace ambulances. In Trinidad, North Regional Health Authority, they have procured ambulances, Toyota Hiace ambulances, and they are paying something between $600,000 and $700,000 for those ambulances. Yet, we have brought some no-name ambulances, but nobody never heard those brands before. And we have paid double the amount, Brother B.
Just Christine Moore would have said that those ambulances can be, well, we can get back with money, so to speak, because there's that arrangement. Let's say that they're not functioning that the way they should. Where have that been? Where is that? Given that there's only one operating, it means that the rest of them that were purchased are non-functional. You as opposition, have you called on the THA to say, hey, where are we with that? I'm hearing that for the first time here.
Brother B, this ambulance is something I'm passionate about because it's lives. As a matter of fact, most recently we heard about the police having to take a child in the middle of the night because no ambulance was available to respond. There's a young man, as far as I understand, who had died, and people are blaming perhaps the untimely response. And Brother B, today it is them, but tomorrow it could be me. You are one of our family members that require emergency response service, and we just don't have it. And this is on the backs of spending, as I just said, over $23 million. I've written to the Anti-Corruption Bureau on this matter because the documents in front of me suggest there were options that were readily available and cheaper. And the question is, why in the face of that, you would bypass that, find a supplier who have absolutely no previous experience, and you have gone into an arrangement where it seems as you rightfully point out, it's not working out. And to date, there has been no action taken to retrieve our funds and to provide us with something more reliable. And therefore, as far as I recall, the last conversation I had with the officer investigating is that there were persons who came forward, persons were interviewed, and I await the outcome of that. But we are taking action.
In terms of, I guess, accountability, I mean, when we look at the budget and what is being proposed from the administration, how much confidence, in your view, is the central government have in the administration when considering the allocation towards the THA? Because I mean, this is one scenario that you're speaking of, but some may argue that, well, all right, well, if we take it a simple scenario, you're a young man and your parents giving you a particular allowance per se, but you're not necessarily managing it properly, they would consider how they give you your future allowances and so on. In terms of the context of the THA and central government with managing the funds for development, because we all know and we all want development of the island, but how much consideration does the central government take when considering some of these things that you're saying?
Well, ultimately, Tobago has a unique situation because whatever you are located, you are responsible for. You can move it around accordingly. Another example, Brother B, is that road. That road has always been an important connector to especially the new airport. And so I just want to be specific, that airport, that Kelvon to Strawberry local road connector. That project originally was envisioned to be the ANR International Airport access road. And the reason why they found it important to build that road was to ensure that you have the kind of connectivity and kind of and to move away from the congestion so you can enter and leave the airport without little stress. So the idea was that on the Storebay local road side, that would be when you're leaving the airport, that would facilitate all the travelers leaving the airport. And the new access point road would have been a dedicated 4-lane highway that would have carried you all the way down, because remember, the airport is built ultimately to basically treat with over 3 million people at its highest peak. And therefore, you also, if you're dealing with that volume of people and volume of traffic, you need a highway that can take it. The THA at the time, there was a cabinet note, cabinet minute, where they approved this road to be constructed in collaboration with the THA. And Brother B, as you would know, anything that the THA is responsible for under the 5th schedule, which roads fall under, the THA must give its approval through a memorandum of understanding. That was done in 2019. Lo and behold, administrations, of course, we had COVID and we know that set back the airport construction. Administrations changed in 2021, 2022. They abandoned that process that was in place to give us a 4-lane highway. And the significant point about this is that the central government was the one who was going to foot the bill. So it, Brother B, is like you looking to build a house. And your brother said, Brother B, I go help you out. So you keep your money. You use that to send them children in school and other things. This THA, however, decided we will do our own thing. So the same THA who is telling you every day we don't have enough money, decided we will build a road. That road would be for $65 million. Lo and behold, what I am understanding, the final cost of that road to date is about the same $140 million where we were going to get, I just described, 4 lanes going down and also upgrading that Storebay local road that would have connected you back to the 4-lane highway. You were getting all of that. You were getting...
And you said it had a cabinet note approving this.
Cabinet minute. I have the copy and I could share it with Channel 5 here. So I could send you the cabinet minute that was approved. So this was a project already in train. And it is from there where the THA got the design, because they were option 1, option 2, option 3. Of course, the cabinet at the time preferred option 3 because it would have been minimal relocation of persons, etc. And it would have been it would not have affected the wetlands and so forth. They did proper studies, so you wouldn't have just been encroaching on people's land and they had to go to court. That matter alone cost us $35 million, Brother B. So that road, imagine you got less road, but you have still spent almost the same.
Would you say it's worth it? It is worth it?
The road right now, if you talk about value for money, Brother B, is probably one of the most expensive road infrastructure in the world, because we are paying almost $50 million per kilometer when the average globally is about $20 million per kilometer. So we are paying almost twice times the international benchmark per kilometer for 1 kilometer of roadway.
There must be a reason why the administration opted to take this approach as opposed to what you're suggesting.
Well, if you look at the procurement and how the procurement was done, and if you're big, and Mr. London used to say, if you're big and you have sense, you would understand why.
All
right. And just before I toss it back to Brother B, as he mentioned the airport, of course I understand there was a site visit yesterday. We didn't get a definite date though. The chairman is quoted as saying that they're aiming for its earliest possible time. But what is the real situation with the airport? We entered the final phase though, and that was confirmed.
Well, you see, some people talk collaboration in one breath, and in the next breath, they don't practice what they preach, because here it is. You have the AATT coming to Tobago, and you would think if this airport is all of Tobago's business, and I as minority leader also represent a segment of Tobago, and there was not even the courtesy of an invitation to join, because this is a Tobago thing, it's not a Farley thing, because even when you look, I don't recall seeing the rest of the executive council there.
And just for clarity, the release said the chairman and board members of Airports Authority, the chief secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly, and other officials to a new terminal at ANR.
And I'm saying to Tobagonians, I as a minority leader was not even given the courtesy of an invitation to join so that I can speak with some level of authority on what is happening. Because I've been asking questions on behalf of the people of Tobago. When will this airport open? What are the challenges or the limitations why we have not been able to meet the July deadline? Because that is what we were told for all the persons who were there at the soft commissioning, that by July the airport will be in a position to accommodate its first travelers. And we are now in September, approaching October, and a date has not yet been given.
But Mr. Morris, one could ask the contractors whose responsibilities was to deliver the airport on time. After the loss of the election, they abandoned their posts, they resigned. That's Mr. George and they from NITCO. And then you have the project just left in the wings. I have to ask this question. Obviously, the new government has to take up the responsibility. However, if a contractor is given a job, it don't matter who change hand. You're supposed to finish the job and deliver it. This is where my first question is. What went awry or what went wrong? Why the contractor abandoned the job? Because that's what that is. Can we sue the contractor, the new government, or ask a question why he has not or they have not delivered? And this is Chinese, through the Chinese contractor, that we don't know what's happening. And I want you to respond to that from that standpoint, and we get to the role that the government that needs to play now. Because if we are not approaching or tackling the source of the problem, then we can't solve it. So,
Brother B, I'm not aware that the contractors changed, because the contractor, as far as I understand, is China Railway Construction Company, and that remains. I note that, of course, with governments changing, boards change, so of course the chairperson and those things. But the general overview of what should be done remains the same, and therefore we were given a timeline of July. Okay, we didn't meet the timeline. But if you want to get something done, Brother B, you have to also give yourself, and if it means you didn't meet in the established timeline, you have to give yourself some kind of timeline to work with, so that even the public can hold you accountable, and that has not been done. When you listen to this current administration, it appears to me, I get the feeling like this is not a priority of the current administration in terms of, okay, I know October Carnival is coming. Why wouldn't there a clear timeline that says we will get this done, so that the public also can measure your performance? Because if you don't have anything to measure by, then you can't hold people accountable. And it seems to me this administration, this government, is trying to avoid giving a timeline so that we, the people, cannot hold them accountable.
All right, let's take a pin again. Now, I'm trying to go back. You said when government change, boards change. The responsibility then of the government or the THA is to say, hey, we change government. Let me tell them contractors, hold on, finish your work. Whatever you need to finish the job, I cannot accept. Hold on. Yeah. But the point I'm making is, you see, we don't allow things to happen, follow fashion. This is what is normally tradition, and we suffer as a result of our practice. The thing is, railway construction was given the job to or given the contractor to do the job. Let's say they hire a new contractor. Right, so the board resigned, we hire a new board. We have to install a new contractor. Is it that how it works? Or you call on the person who is responsible to finish the job, after they've done the job, resign, because a new government in place. If we have not done that, then we put ourselves in the position that we have. Brother, so I want you to respond from that.
Brother B, I want you, and let us be honest as Tobagonians. Under the PNM, a deadline of July was given, right? Let's say end of July. You could have imagined had it been the PNM still in administration and that deadline was not met, our chief secretary, you could have imagined how he would have treated with that. The same thing has happened under a different administration, and all you're getting is, and that is all I'm saying, brother B.
All right. All right. Okay. All right. So we got to go for the break. When we come back, we continue. There are so many other areas. All right. We said, okay, we go on. All right. So Mr. Cox.
All right. Yes. Well, I mean, I guess we could shift focus, continuing looking at the budget, but on your wish list, Mr. Morris, in terms of, because of course, the THA, and by the way, are you involved, the Minority Council involved in the preparation of the proposed budget proposal from the THA?
Well, our involvement is as far as we have the debate in the House, of course, so we would have put forward our position on matters pertaining to what the THA should prioritize. When you get the actual allocation, there's another process that takes place where we go into a reprioritization, and again we get an opportunity to again share with the administration where we think the priority should be placed in terms of development, etc. Whether they take the advice is another question.
Okay, and in terms of the wish list, of course we didn't get a date, but in terms of what the minority would wish for in terms of figures, was the ask a reasonable ask, a fair ask?
Well, it goes back to our disappointment because we keep talking about ask, and this is the disappointment when I said, I don't know any reasonable person, right-thinking person that would prefer to beg than know you have something actually in writing, guaranteed. And the bills, if there's one thing that we would have eliminated right away from those bills had the Chief Secretary encouraged UNC to vote in favor with the PNM for those bills, is a guaranteed 6.8%. We are begging, hoping here, praying that we get maybe around 5.1 to 5.5. When you are going to get 6.8%, which is approximately $4 billion, that's an additional $1.5 billion on what you currently get. And for us to be sitting here now wondering if they go giwi, when we had an opportunity that they have to giwi.
All right.
And so it is kind of, to be in this place, for me, as a Tobagonian, is a sad thing.
Very good. All right. I want to just touch on tourism. We have a few minutes before you're up, and then I'll give you opportunity to address or to speak to the nation as we celebrate 49 years as a republic. All right. So the tourism secretary, is off. There is Zorisha Hackett taking up her position. The carnival budget is $12 million. There was some unease, more or less, with the launch, and stakeholders, in some cases, did not show up, so to speak. Let's speak to the whole question of the budget for the carnival and the anticipation. And of course, I know you wish them well, given this is a Tobago event. So let's speak from that standpoint. $12 million for this budget. Are you satisfied? You convinced it to be utilized, transparently? Speak to us.
So, Brother B, the first thing is always about how the money is allocated. And I understand $2 million have been allocated to the stakeholders. And your stakeholders are really the people who make the carnival happen. But part of the challenge is the stakeholders, there's no mechanism that has been clearly articulated as to how they would access this money. So with 3 weeks or so to go to Carnival, you are still in limbo as to if you're throwing a fete, if you are a mass band, or if you are even the people hosting pan and etc. How do you access this money? So the stakeholders don't have a clue how they access that $2 million even now. And you're talking about preparing for Carnival. Then it's all about it seems to me like there's a sense of disrespect, and you heard the stakeholders talk about it, because you're engaging persons, and when we come forward and we put forward our proposals, then we are being ignored. You're not even communicating with us and sharing with us. So we are hearing things by the way. And it's the same thing with the announcement of the temporary assignment that came by the way. And as of now, no one is even the wiser as to how long will this arrangement stand. Nobody's saying you can't take time off. But Brother B, I'm sure if you, Channel 5, have a busy period and Carnival being important, you have Blue Food coming up, I doubt you could tell Channel 5 at that time, unless you're sick and you're infirm and you can't come to work, that you want time off to clear your head. Brother B, I don't know.
All right. We got it. So last point.
Yeah, well, I guess, I mean, you just have a few minutes, but in terms of, again, coming back to the budget, and I mean, tourism, most would argue that it should be, the level of investment in tourism should be at least at the forefront. And I must say that the administration would have listed out some pillars as opposed to looking at the variant divisions in terms of the budget proposal. What is your vision? I mean, you still function as one of our leaders.
Of course.
Yes, minority leader, but what is your vision as Tobago moves forward?
So,
I mean, you have been in this position for some years.
So Tobago requires a bold, brand new vision. That's to start with. And the tourism must be at the forefront of it. I've said it here and other places that tourism is to Tobago what oil and gas is to Trinidad and Tobago. We are seeing it in the other islands, how tourism by itself can drive and transform an economy. And therefore, if we get tourism right in Tobago by ensuring, one, that we have the accommodation, we have the sites and attraction, we have the kind of training that will ensure that we all are tourism ready. Because if you are selling any product, you have to be in a position of knowledge, understanding, and awareness to be able to deliver the best service possible to the customer coming. And your tourists are your customers. We have to ensure that we have the properties and the kind of accommodation in its various formats, whether it be some all-inclusive, some bread and breakfast, some cottage enterprises, some in the sort of eco kind of friendly setup. We have to ensure that we engage airlines in a way that airlines are confident. If I come to your destination, I am coming here for a profit. So it means that you're already set up to ensure that my clients who are coming can enjoy themselves. So we have to really prepare Tobago in a serious way for tourism, and that will impact our agriculture. It would impact our infrastructure, because it means that we'll be investing in our infrastructure in a way that when people come, they are amazed and they are impressed by what you have to offer. So it's about a brand new vision.
All that you have said there, saying it to us, have you called, maybe send a message to the Chief Secretary to have a sit down?
Brother B, I love writing to the Chief Secretary. I write to the Chief Secretary on many occasions, and the Chief Secretary, as a matter of fact, I want Tobagonians to understand, the Chief Secretary and I are schoolmates. Right. So we may see from a different political, we may be on a different political or political ideology, but we are not enemies. All right. And therefore, but I can't force the Chief Secretary to do that which the Chief Secretary perhaps wants to do. So obviously I would share, obviously in many respects I would speak it publicly. And I recall it was during COVID, we were saying when the shoes was on the other foot, that perhaps they should call on Dr. Faith to assist and so forth. Maybe we in Tobago should be asking the Chief Secretary, why have you not reached out? Because always, why did the minority not reach out? But perhaps, Kelvon, I'm hearing him saying some things that make sense. Yeah. Why not reach out?
Okay. All right, we are going to mark 49 years as a republic tomorrow. We give you an opportunity to send a message to the nation. Your message to Trinidad.
Well, I want to firstly wish our Twin Island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago a happy and hearty 49th Republic Day. As a nation, you know, we are continuing to face challenges, whether it be crime, whether it be our economy. But as a people, I know we are resilient, and there's nothing a Trinidad and Tobago citizen puts his mind to that he cannot achieve and overcome. We have seen it in sports recently with Juby and with Keyshawn. After fighting numerous injuries and other challenges, they were able to rise and basically defeat the world, triumphantly bringing gold and silver to this beloved nation. So I just want to encourage us as a people to work together, put the politics aside, and ensure that we put Trinidad and Tobago first as we enter this 50th year, because we are celebrating 49 as we enter our golden jubilee as a Republican nation.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. And all the best to you. Again, enjoy your Republic Day. You're going to Roxbury one day?
Of course.
Right, so,
yeah, no, my wife from Roxbury, right?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, man.
All right, good. All right.